Okay, next item, has everybody had a chance to review the minutes from our last meeting on the 13th of February?
The only thing I could see, Jeff, that he can't be is being here.
Okay.
Other than that, I'll approve the minutes as...
Well, this is November 14th minutes.
Huh?
The one that he did.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this version has November. I have February on it.
Yeah, mine says February.
You've got a later version of
I suppose so. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make that.
Can you state your name, please?
Steve Farrell.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We know each other, but Amy doesn't, so if you just blurt out your name, it'd help. Needs to be in the minutes.
That was Ron Critter.
That was me.
He's usually pretty quiet.
That'll probably be the last time we hear from you.
Steve Farrell, diddle.
Get a vote.
Okay, we've got the first two items taken care of. The third one, oh, I'm sorry, we need to take a vote on the minutes. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye, please. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, very good. The next item of business, it says it's an affordable housing study. Scott Loomis is supposed to be here as the Executive Director of the Mountain Lands Community Housing Trust. There have been several in the room that I think heard from Scott within the last week for an extended period of time, and it was requested that we make it short and sweet, and we very well make it real short and sweet because I don't think Scott is here.
Yeah, I was covering for him.
Oh, okay, we got Doug.
I think the council decided that they didn't want Scott here tonight, but he's going to be in the council meeting tomorrow night.
Okay, very good. So I'm going to turn some time over to Doug Smith to talk about affordable housing.
And it'll be, I cut it down to 7 slides. So that's fine.
Okay.
Order of what we're looking for. Do you want me to use a microphone? Do you want me to?
Yes, please.
Those that missed the other, they didn't have to stay after and see the other slide.
The other 57 slides.
Turn me to cheat because everybody has a
Okay.
phone now, so you can get
The
them.
county currently has an affordable housing ordinance, and it requires 10% of the proposal. 100 homes, there needs to be 10 affordable units, either paid a fee in lieu, built on site, or built off site. The problem we run into is the current code allows for the developer to do a study and say, we don't think we're impacting as much as 10%, and the council can agree or disagree with that.
Or we can ask them to do another study.
Or another study, or provide a consultant to do the study. We found that's been difficult just because it allows us to be a little bit, I say the word arbitrary, it's probably a bad word to use, but we wanted to take that out of the code, and so we started working on a new code. It's probably been over a year now that we first started talking about this. And as we got into it with Scott Loomis, they said, well, I think we need to do a needs assessment, so they did a needs assessment, and then the next thing was they wanted to do a nexus analysis, so they did a nexus analysis. Those are finally both, well, the nexus analysis is still in a final draft, but it's just about there. The state law requires us to have an affordable housing element in our general plan. How are we going to address affordable housing? And it's we need to provide affordable housing for everyone, 80% or below the area median income. So, Jamie, could you go to the next slide? The needs assessment showed us a few things. The increase in population between 2010 and 2016 was 22.3%. The Hispanic population, 78% of those rent, and 53% of those are below the poverty level. If you want to just keep going forward, there we go. Housing, 54% of housing in unincorporated county is not owner-occupied. 13.5% increase in number of households renting between 2012 and 2015. 60% of rentals are single-family homes. 567 apartments are market and some restricted, and there's no vacancy. The median sales price for a home in 2016 was $404,000. And I think since then it's gone up to about 4.5. So they just keep going up.
Doug, on that report on the houses, as far as the median price, I took into consideration every home being built in Wasatch County, all the second homes, the multi-million-dollar homes.
Everything. So it's skewed because we've got $10 and $20 million homes in places.
Well, we do there, but then the thing that also skewed it is the average income. We haven't gotten to that yet. So we just want to make sure everything balances out correctly on that value of the house versus the income of the people that actually built those homes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think even if you look at the starter homes in the valley, they're 400 plus a new home. Let's see. Median sales price increase of 58% from 2012.
I mean, Doug, just a minute to talk about that. Jeff, what's the last, and we haven't had a lot this past year, but the last homes that have come in for a down payment assistance loan have been around 300,000, I think.
Yes, 300,000 or more.
And that's a starter home. And we haven't had any in the past year, but, or in 17 actually. So let's go back to 50.
So just in comparison, Utah County is a median sale price of $255,000. Salt Lake County is $265,000. Under employment, countywide job growth went from 4,727 jobs to 8,882 jobs between 2001 and 2015. Countywide average wage, $36,204, which is 83% of the state average. Area median income is $51,100.
That's the 80%, isn't it, of the area?
Yeah.
No, area median income.
The 56 was 80% of the area median income. 51,000. 58% of all employees commute into the county. 1,707 in 2002 and 5,187 in 2014. And 70% of residents with jobs commute outside the county. So I think those are important statistics to look at, because as you look at traffic and people that have to commute in to do the lower paying jobs that can't afford to live here, and then all the people that commute out, it all adds to our traffic. Less than 10% of homes sold in 2016 were affordable to households below the county median income of $66,486. Opportunity for owner-occupied housing under 80% AMI, which is 52,200, is nearly non-existent. Projected housing needs over 5 years, rental units below 50% AMI, at least 250 units. Rental units 80% to 120% of the AMI is 80 to 100 units, and owner-occupied units between 80% of the AMI and 120% of the AMI is up to 240 units.
And isn't that on top of the gap that exists now, or the shortage that exists now that you went over?
Yep.
And there was brought out, I think, in part in the county presentation, that we can't, as far as assessing new growth to help pay for this, you can't assess them for the gap we already have. We have to fill the gap through other general fund, whatever else, because we can't assess newcomers to make up for our existing gap.
This is existing needs right here.
No.
Could you go back just quickly to that prior slide? It shows how many comes in for work, for our jobs, I guess, in the county, right?
5,187 in 2014.
And then how many go out is, we've got 1,707 jobs, let's see, the other year. 5,187 come in for jobs, but we have 70% going out to get 8,000 jobs.
There's 8,882 people that are employed in the county that go outside for jobs.
And
outside
there's
the county.
5,187 being filled in the county.
Yeah.
So if we're not talking about the trade deficit, we're 3,000 short of enough jobs to take care of our own.
Yeah.
But if we could just get those 5 that are coming in to stay, to live and work here, and then we'd only have to ship out 3,000. I'm just saying, it doesn't track exactly. It's, some are going out and some more are coming in, but,
I don't think the numbers add up.
well, that's what I was
The
trying to.
population of the county in 2014 is less than 30,000. We average 3-point-something kids per family, for families. The math doesn't work.
But you got a lot of 2-job families, though.
3.1 is the household size.
Yeah.
3.1 is the
So if you got 2 people, where about kids?
You essentially have every couple, if they're married, if you presume that most households are a married couple, you have every couple in the county community. In or out.
Well, if we want
Isn't
to,
that about right?
if we want to question the nexus study, I guess we can.
I'm just saying, math, I'm just looking at math.
You know, I think we did question the study in the county council.
I just was looking at
Because
it.
if you go back to what I was talking about, the average income, you know, $36,000, that's extremely low for the own those multi-million-dollar houses. That should bump that up a little bit if you take their income into consideration. So I think we did question the study, and that's what we need to do, is we need to really look at that, because all those numbers will change if the average income changes as well.
Keep going, Jamie, if you would. Let's see. I think we covered this one. Okay, this shows the link that the Nexus study had for development and jobs. So you have a residential development, it's a new household. Obviously, there's expendable income, and so the household spending, they buy tires, they go to Walmart, they go to restaurants, all those things that create jobs. Over in the other column, new jobs, and some of those jobs are low-paying jobs, restaurant workers, people who maintain lawns, those types of things. So it creates a demand for affordable housing, not even considering firefighters and police and teachers and those types of planners. So just throw that in there. Next one, Jamie.
Pulling the income numbers up.
So what the Nexus study supports, and as we talked about, that could be challenged, but according to what they submitted, we could require up to 16.7% an affordable housing requirement, whether that's 16% built on site, off-site, or a fee in lieu. So anything below that, they feel could be defensible in a lawsuit. Next one, Jim. So these are some of the questions that came up as we discussed this in the council, and there's probably more, but we've got 50% second homes, and those homes might only be occupied 2 weeks out of the year. What does that mean to the spending and the job creation in the county? When they come in for Christmas or whatever in Deercrest, they're probably going to spend a lot more than I would spend, but it's only 2 weeks out of the year.
In Park City.
All municipalities should be participating in affordable housing. That was discussed.
Wasatch County.
Right now, it's the county doing it, and We feel like everybody should be participating, including Midway. If we decide to go that route. The other question was, is affordable housing appropriate in the county? And I'll admit it, affordable housing is a tough deal because in the county where we're doing more rural subdivisions, if you have a 5-acre subdivision or a 1-acre subdivision, do you want 4 duplexes in there? Or do you want something on an 8,000 or 10,000 square foot lot? And I'm sure the city would say, we don't want you to push all your affordable housing into the city. But, you know, with the annexation proposal in North Village, I think we were looking to that to be a potential sending zone for higher density affordable housing. So that all needs to be discussed.
So therefore, if the city annexes their affordable housing areas, it causes a problem for the county.
And the city owns it, and we've met our 10%.
We could just annex and do it, we'd be there. But that isn't what we want.
We also talked about, on that last bullet point, we've got projects in the Jordanelle that are going to be hotel, resort. They'll create a huge demand for employment. I read on the internet, and I don't know how accurate this is, but a 5-star hotel could have up to 3 to 4 employees per room. So should there be a higher percentage for resort developments versus developments in the valley? Those are all things we've been discussing. I'm sure there's more, but that's kind of the end of what I had.
See, I had a question on that about, I had questions on that about commercial, just like retail and service industry is what a majority of the business that gets, of the new businesses in Wasatch County. That's different than resort, and I don't believe that the retail and the service industry commercial developments create as much demand, or if any, for low-income or moderate-income housing. That was just one item. I think that's kind of written. I think that's why we talked about different numbers,
Right, different levels.
types. Yeah, because I can see that with resort. I mean, one thing, like when we were talking about with Scott Loomis, when he said that like Zermatt brings a lot of people in outside of the county. You know, how much are we responsible for? How much are we responsible for creating low-income housing for people who are not citizens?
Or is Vermont responsible if they're not ready?
And I don't know if that's something that we can even consider, if that's something that
I think John's comment is a great comment. I've looked into some ski resorts in Colorado where their legislatures got involved and said, why are these ski resorts creating all this demand for housing and not helping at all?
Right.
They're letting the municipalities provide it. I don't know.
The one thing, the one at bottom, and the one thing we've talked about a lot with the people up in Jordan is that the livable community within your resort, so that it's a more viable community year-round, not just during the high season. And it's shown that that helps. Put your housing right there.
Have the mates live there.
And that helps with traffic too, because you're not driving from Heber or Salt Lake or whatever to get to the resort to work. You're right there.
So I've given this a lot of thought, and we've met with one developer with Jordan now that's doing exactly that, building it on site. In fact, he has more than he needs, and is going to possibly be a receiving zone for other ones as well. So the way I looked at it, I kind of say break it down into 4 areas. Number 1, Heber, 2, Midway, 3, Wasatch County, broken up in like 3 different categories, so it'd be like 5. So Heber has their zoning. Midway possibly could do zoning that might become affordable with condos or things like that. Wasatch County, we could break it into 2 groups, would be county rural and county resort. County resort would be like on-site workforce housing for places up in Jordanelle. County rural would be, you know, Daniels, Charleston, Heber East, places like that, that are 1 to 5 affordable house on a 1 acre lot. So my thinking was, if we can break it down into those different categories, I think that's kind of the purpose of the meeting, to kind of talk about that a little bit and see how we can maybe bring it all together and have everybody participate. We're on board, they do have their zoning. If we came together as a group, came up with our own plan, and all three signed off on the plan, Midway, Heber, and Wasatch County, I think maybe that'd be the best way to approach it, rather than having three separate plans. And we come up with a rural code for affordable housing, which might be anything over 10 lots or more would have an affordable housing fee, or an option. They can do one of the different three. Or if you're under 10 lots, you don't really create much of an affordable housing issue there. So that's the kind of way I looked at it. It's 5 different areas, and I maybe come up with a county resort code that would handle the Jordanelle area.
Could the affordable fee be tied to an ERU instead of a lot or a house? Because that's a measure. Could you be assessed so much?
Well, it would be an ERU, yes.
I mean, it'd be, you know, there'd be various formulas for like the resort and the other, but maybe.
But the whole purpose, I think, is to get everybody on board to be thinking about it, because the county's really been pushing to try and get something going here with this. And Heber's built a lot with their zoning, but that can all come into play, because we're mandated to have a plan. And whatever it is, it's what we come up with based on.
Well, I think that Heber City, to some extent, has been waiting to see exactly what the county was going to do and try to do something that's compatible with the county and have it all tie in, rather than each of us going our separate ways and doing.
Right, but we complement each other because we're not like you, we're not like us. That's true. Zoning. So you're part of our county's city-town plan. We all come together and we form this one plan that works for everybody. Everybody's going to do this, Heber's going to do that. Wasatch County will have these 2 different areas, rural and resort. And it's one plan, but all of us sign off on it. And we complement each other because we have different zones.
Yeah, sure.
Just a thought.
My outtake from the other meeting and this one as well is that, first of all, we heard from Lomas, but what was the meeting, an hour and a half, we discussed this. It's like so many other issues, it's way more complicated than it may look at first. But we need to be now, we've waited, we need to become on board as strong participants and supporters and collaborators with the county in concert with their own variations. And it, you know, it isn't just even Heber Midway. I mean, those other towns are incorporated. They've got to do a plan. They've got to provide, maybe not very much, but if you recall in our low-income housing meeting, the mayor of Charleston said, well, we don't have much now, but we probably ought to have a policy in place. We're starting to have more developers look at our town. So I commend the county on what they've done thus far. They've pulled together a lot of resources. To the extent we need to individualize it for Heber, we can consult with Lomas too, you know, paying some fees, but.
Well, you're part of that.
We're part of Mountain Lands. We get the benefit of anything that's done by that study.
I serve on the Mountain Lands Board as representing the Housing Authority. And in fact, I was over there this morning, and they certainly have a lot of their own problems. They're trying to get some affordable housing going. It's called Silver Creek Development or something, and they've had an awful lot of issues with Summit County. Haven't been in agreement on a lot of things, and it's been a real difficult situation. Park City is kind of going it alone and doing their own thing, and have committed to, in the next 10 years, to have 800 affordable housing units in Park City, and they are actually working on that, and their first one that they've finished, they're starting to move in. Of course, Park City has more money than probably any of us can even imagine that they throw at, but they're working at it, and it's difficult for them also. So I think that we have the start of a real good plan to tackle the affordable housing issues in our county. I think that we need to continue to work on it, and I think we need to continue to have the dialogue between the county and Heber City, and I think Midway should be a part of that. And the other towns, even though they are probably not in a position to have to really deal with it on a day-to-day basis, they should put something in place. And I think it's in our best interest to try to work together and get something feasible that we can all work with. And after sitting in the Mountain Lands meetings for the last 2 or 3 years, all of the affordable housing issues are so complicated, especially when you get into federally subsidized with tax credits and all sorts of things. It is very difficult to work with. But Mountain Lands has gotten into dozens of different programs, federally, statewide, and their own projects, and they've been working at it for quite a number of years, and they don't have it all figured out yet. So I think that we're making some good progress. The question is, where do we go from here? Do we talk about it at our next interlocal meeting? Do we need to pull together some from each of our groups and get an ongoing dialogue with this? Sometimes it's hard to solve any problems when we got 30 people in the room and we're all coming up with lots of good ideas, but we need to zero in on some constructive, positive things that we can go forward on and get some things done in the near future. And I really appreciate all that the county has done and how far they've come. I know that Scott Loomis is a walking encyclopedia for affordable housing. If anybody knows anything about any sorts of affordable housing ideas, he's the guy that knows about it.
On some of the work he does, he's doing for Mountain Lands, the county hired him specifically to help you with your formula, your numbers.
He's our consultant. When the developer comes, he looks at our code and says, here's what you could potentially do within that
So
code.
he's helping them with their code, which the city certainly could use some help. I wonder, Jeff, you're the top of the boards here, so